you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here. Today's guest is Sergeant First Class retired Rick Freeman, a longtime friend. We got some things to talk about. You're going to be interested in. Get you a pen. Stay tuned. Be right back. Welcome back into Veterans Issues. Appreciate you tuning in this week. Appreciate you tuning in every week. Today's guest is an old friend. I mean, old. He's old. He's been on here before years ago, and he's a United States Army retired Sergeant First Class, 22 years, and his name is Rick Freeman. He used to be the mayor of the big city of Piedmont, Alabama. Welcome to the show, Rick Freeman.
Thank you, Ken. Good to be back. Good to be back.
Good to be anywhere, ain't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I checked the obituaries this morning. I checked the Freeman. You wasn't in there. And then I went on down to Rollins. I wasn't in there.
Hey, I just great that, the Lord bless with another day.
Yeah, it's a good day. And as we're doing the taping today, it's a beautiful day outside.
Yes, it is.
The sun is shining. We're blessed with all that.
And spring's coming quick.
You got to drive down this morning through God's country on Highway 9, I bet you.
Yes, I did. It's beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful drive to me. It reminds me kind of like Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains like that. And I just wished our state would, push that more because that's a beautiful place.
Well, I do that. I go out when I want to go ride, not just in the fall when the leaves are turning, but if you're going up Highway 9, going north on Highway 9, on your right's a mountain, on the other side of the mountain, and you're just like wedged in between canyons going up through there, and you can see all of the glory on the right and the glory on the left, and if you don't get blessed out of that.
You can go all the way from there, like I said, into Fort Payne, all the way into the Appalachian, the Maine, starting from that area. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful drive. A lot of days when you have those days you think everything's against you and kind of depressed, you can take that drive and just see the blessings, and it's great.
But stay at the speed limit 55. There's a story with me about that, and I don't want to discuss it here today. You was in the service. What years were you in the service?
Okay, I went in 1971 to 1993. I was, really believe it, I was a military brat. I was born in the military. My dad was in the Marine Corps at the time I was born, and he came out in 1954 and stayed out for a while, then went back on active duty after his commission. So really I feel like I've been in the military from day one, from 1952 and up. But like I said, I went in 71 and came out in 93.
Yeah. Well, you're a Vietnam era veteran. It fits in that period of time there. That's quite a deal. But I know some history on you, and you talk about military brat. But there was we grew up in learning about the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that they taught in school back in the day. That we were taught to appreciate this country and love the country. And was you drafted or did you?
No, I joined.
I did too.
Yes,
so
yeah. My dad made sure of that.
The one thing I'm talking about, and we can talk about it later this week, that I'm emceeing for a group down at the Civic Center. The analogy of a veteran is, I ask them, I say, everybody give me a blank check. Just reach in your purse and give me a blank check and just sign it. Don't put any amount in it. We did that. We did that when we raised our right hand. We gave a blank check to the United States of America, and in the amount, it's to include our life. And at that moment, Rick, we became a GI, government issue. My rifle had a serial number, and I had a serial number. Do you remember your serial number?
Not off the bat. I've got the card.
I do. I remember mine, RA147660.
I've got my card. I couldn't remember.
But
lucky for me, they started using their Social Security numbers then, and it took me a while to learn that. But,
well, that's right. It did. When I came out in '69, they had already gone to the Social Security. But when they gave us that serial number, we had to remember it for guard duty. Everything we did was spout that serial number out. Because we was no longer a person. They told us, you don't have a mama, you don't have a wife. We didn't issue you one.
Even your body blowing, if you got sunburn, you got Article 15. I had some friends that got sunburned in a training exercise, and they got an Article 15, took money out of their check. With those days, I think you made $121 if you were married. And if you figure if they took $15 or $20 out of your check, you was
well, they were rich. I got $68 a month, man. Big time, but that was after the cavalry had horses. Yeah. You've been with DAV, Disabled American Veterans, for as long as I can remember. How long have you been in there?
I became a member in '93, and I've been there since. Then I got involved in the local chapter there at Piedmont, and was commander there the first time 8 years altogether. And then I got into the state ranks and went from junior vice admiral to state commander in 2010, 2011. And I've really enjoyed it. I know there's good days and bad days. You know, you've been there. But it's helping veterans and their family, and that's what really means a lot to me. I mean, I could, you know, the awards they give everybody, nothing could compare when you do a claim for an individual or a spouse that our loved one is lost, and they get approved and it helps the veteran out.
Well, I was you took my thunder there, but
I'm sorry.
I mean, no, that's all right. You didn't know that. You're still a commander up there, right?
Yes,
Okay. And I was going to say, and I've been involved in that, and I can't think of a better feeling than to somebody to call you or come up to you and say, thanks a lot for what you did. I got my 100%.
Yes, it is. And you know, I've had people, I wouldn't even believe, it's a process. People don't understand. It's a process. But that feeling when you have an elderly person, or I had a person I knew, he had retired command sergeant major in his 80s, and he's having a lot of health problems in his family. We did his claim, and they called and said, we need to talk to you. And I thought, okay, there's some things they did. And they brought the awards letter for 100%. It makes you really feel good. Or a young man or young woman just came back from Afghanistan or Iraq that's been involved in some problems there, that's injured, and knowing that they're kind of limited, income-wise, that they're not going to have the future a lot of people had who didn't serve, and to get that far, them, it really makes you feel good.
Yeah, I had a fella, I pulled up at my chapter house one night, and a guy was sitting there in the car and a little skeptical. It was in East Anniston, and he got out of the car and started toward me. I said, I'm going to get stabbed or am I going to get cut? Am I going to get shot? And he come with the arms open, and he had taken him from suicidal, living in a trailer with no power, just you could throw a dog through the walls, to giving him 100% disability, and he had bought him a double wide and moved up on his family's property, and his son, who had run away from him, was back with him. All that had happened, and he's coming to hug my neck, and you couldn't give me enough money. This is it. And over, I've had things I've been involved in. I know you do it all the time.
Yeah, but then there's a negative side of that. When you do a claim that you feel good about and it's denied.
Oh, yeah.
And that really hurts on the inside, especially when you have a widow that her husband's in World War II and you do a claim and it's rejected because she made $2 too much.
Yeah.
And that really upsets you. But, people's got to understand, we just do the paperwork. It's left up to the people up in the claims division to approve or disapprove, but we try to make sure when it leaves our office, everything is done to the best of our ability. It's not halfway. We have checklists we go by. We make sure we got everything covered, and we make sure it's there.
Y'all do good work. That the thing that I've had, we get a call from somebody that there was at the funeral home and they found out that their husband cannot get a military funeral because he was not a high-grade officer, but he had a Silver Star in World War II. He was a hero, but they can't get. And I called the Department of Navy on one of them. They said, no, we can send you a bugle and a flag, and that's it. But that's what they're required to do.
It's not right because, like I said, when my father passed away, he had one of the Ranger battalions sent people up, and it was very beautiful. Not, my son one day made a statement. My father had won the Silver Star, Bronze Star, 3 tours of Nam in Korea, and over 42 years in the military. But his other grandfather was in the Korean War.
Well, let's cut it on the Korean War there. We got to go to a break, got to pay the bill. Be right back here to talk more with Rick Freeman. Stay where you are. I got some things to talk to you about. You're going to like. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're talking with Rick Freeman, and we're talking about his history, and we was talking about the dad's history about Korea and that kind of thing when we went to a break. I know you're proud of him.
Yes, and like I said, my father-in-law, he was in Korea, and my son kept saying, well, Pawpaw had all these medals, and he was this. But I said, Derek, you understand, your other granddad was in the Army, artillery, but he was a clerk, and quartermaster. I said, they're just as important because without those guys, we don't have supplies on the front line. Yeah. So after I explained to him, it's not all about ribbons, medals, and like that. And that's when he was really, really young.
Well, let me interrupt you there because we need to get some things in here. One is I want to get, because you do claims.
Right.
the Vietnam veteran, the biggest thing they want to do is I want to file for Agent Orange. I hear that over and over and over. And our VSO, the Veteran Service Officer, asked me, please tell them you can't file for Agent Orange. There is no such disease as Agent Orange or ailment as Agent Orange. They are things that's caused by Agent Orange.
Correct.
And you folks that have computers, you can save yourself time if you can Google Agent Orange and find the different things that are caused by Agent Orange. You can get a list of them just off of Google. The systemic heart failure, diabetes type 2, there's just so many things on the show for me I'm not going to go into. But you can look to see if you got that, then that's what you want to file for. I want to file for systemic heart failure as a result of Agent Orange. I want to file for diabetes type 2 as a result of Agent Orange. So it helps you when they go into a doctor or to a nurse and say, I'm here to file for Agent Orange. Well, they already know that you don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
So
yeah.
don't go in there and say, I want to file for Agent Orange. Don't go to your VSO, the DAV, and say, I want to file for Agent Orange. Say, I want to file for diabetes type 2. I've been diagnosed, and I was in Vietnam.
Right.
And, you can mention the word Agent Orange if you want to, but that right there automatically.
In the rigs, it already shows where it's there. The diseases, systemic heart disease is the big one. Like I said, as long as you got documentation from your doctor saying you had a disease, but they've come out with a lot of, like the blue water deal. That's opened up a big door. We've had people come to us and say, I want to file for Agent Orange because in the Air Force and the planes that we were loading, had that on there. That's fine and dandy, but what do we have here?
Yeah,
and that's like you said, Agent Orange. It's a big subject.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's certain diseases, and I have a list of them there. If anyone would like to come by our office, we have them that's connected to that. There's like 2 pages of them that falls in that category. If they'd come by, we'd be glad to sit down and go with them, give them the forms they need to fill out.
Moving right along, we got another one called the contamination of the water. If 1953 to 1987, if you served at Camp Lejeune and the Marine Corps, you are there in any capacity, you've drank the water that's been contaminated. Now, you can't just go file a claim for contaminated. You got to find a list of items. And there is a list, I wouldn't even pronounce them when I read them, of different things that are associated with that contamination.
Right.
So there again, Google Camp Lejeune contaminated water, and it show you a list of, or go by and see Rick now, and they will. What's a good number for people to call you?
Ours is 256 504 9813.
9813, 504 9813.
They got so many numbers.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I try to call them all trying you during the day.
We're located on 114 North Center Avenue in Piedmont, right downtown Piedmont.
Yeah.
You can't miss our building.
They can call me. I'll put it in touch with
It's a very beautiful building.
The Camp Lejeune water contamination and the Agent Orange is this way to file. Now, we're going to talk about something that really brought you here today. Through the people that got me the track chair, if we could bring that up in the control room, I want to do that. People that gave me the track chair a couple of years ago, people saw it on various television. Now this is a fundraiser that Applebee's did with the right on the right of that. You see me in my track chair, and then there's 2 other track chairs. That's me and my friend Matt Pepe, and the lady in the middle standing there is Sharon Rivers. Sharon lost her son Thomas Rivers in Afghanistan, and her and her daughter Rachel were sending care packages to his unit. Well, after his death, they decided to do something for disabled veterans, and I'm the recipient of that blessing that she gave me, that track chair, and they just had another thing working with Applebee's over in Jefferson County, that area, Fultondale, all up in there, to raise $100,000 to buy track chairs. Well, they raised some money, and she asked me, did I know anybody? And I said, yeah, I just know somebody. I know Rick Freeman and one other fellow. And you got your call, you're getting yours.
Yes, I sure am. And I was so blessed. Like I said, when I was mayor at Piedmont, I had some surgery done on my ankle, and just some bad things happened. I started throwing a lot of blood clots. Spent 5 days ICU at 3 different hospitals in over a 5-month period. It took away a lot of my mobility to do things I used to do.
Like
And
what?
Hunting and fishing. That was my number one thing. That was this. And like I said, my friend Mike that you met other day, Mike Hines, they would come get me and take me to a little place. It's kind of like taking your grandkids and you sit right here, don't move. And you lost that independency.
Yeah.
And the day that I seen that you posted about the information, and we talked back and forth, and I kept saying, Lord, this will be a blessing. And then when you called and said that Miss Rivers, need to get in touch with me, and then she called and spoke to her very, very, a lady. There's not enough can be said for her and her daughter for things they do for veterans, and Applebee's, but knowing that she's going to get that independency of get it back what you used to do. Yes, you can still walk and do a little few things, but you can't do. But then when you brought your track down Saturday and we got to get out and operate it.
Well, let me tell you what he's talking about. I took my tractor up to his house, and then we went on down to his friend's house. He's got acres and acres of land down there. They got a hunting shooting cabinet, thing like that. He can't get to. They have to take him down there. And they always take him to the closest one and leave him, and so he'd be at the mercy. Imagine this: you're in there, you shoot a big deer, and it don't stop exactly there, so you can't go hunting. You got to wait on somebody to come back. Now you can go.
I can do anything I wanted to.
Yeah, and I thought he wasn't going to come back. He got on my chair and he went off down into the woods. And we didn't see him for a long period of time.
It's like I said, it's just like you got your independency back. Like I told you. For about a year and a half after I had to give up being mayor, I went in that depressed mode. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't get out. I couldn't even go to my little pond. I got a catfish pond by the house. You were kind of limited to doing things there. Getting out that Saturday and knowing I had my independence back where I can get out and do things I wanted to. Yes, you can still drive. You can still do a lot of things. But when you're out you're walking and stuff like that in terrain that we were in Saturday, it's just like you had a new life. You've been just like, you died and gone to heaven.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, wait till you get to the beach. Now, Sharon Rivers, to deal with the loss of her son, he's a handsome young fella, too. You know how Marines are.
Yes,
but to deal with that, but to continue something like this, and you and I talking about helping people claim, we get that little feeling. Imagine how she's got to feel if she just knew what was in our hearts.
If she only knew the day when she called and after she hung up, the feeling I had in my whole body that day is just like it's like God said, "Here, come on, let's go. We're going home." It felt so great because I knew that I could do things like I used to again.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were running out of time, but I wanted to come on and talk about that. Now, when we get to there, we'll get some pictures of
Right.
it.
Hey,
and I got some video somewhere in the pipe system here that maybe I can get to show it in the next few weeks. But I want to talk to you about some legislation, and we'll do that later. But appreciate you coming on the show.
Yes, sir, Ken. Thank you. It's always been a pleasure.
When you get that chair, I'm going to race you.
I hear you. Yeah.
But thank you, Sharon Rivers. We got to go to a break. Come back. I got news that you can use. Stay right there. Get you a pen. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Appreciate Rick coming on here doing the show today and talking about that track chair. When he gets it, we're going to have some information about that because I know the feeling, and Sharon Rivers is changing people's lives. Reminder again, still get calls. The 2415 7th Avenue South, 2415 7th Avenue South. That's the new parking deck at for the VA over in Birmingham. People are still going to the wrong place, and they call me from their car. What's that address? Well, I remember it now, 2415 7th Avenue South. So I can remember it by heart, but it nearly hard fails. Every week I get a call. I'm going to have the director of the VA down here, Mr. Smith, probably in the next week or so. I've been telling you that for a while. We're trying to work that out. He's a very busy man. He's been on here a couple times before, and if you got any questions for the director of the public affairs, Jeff Hester, any of those people over there, just give me a call and I'll make sure that I've asked it for him. Just be respectful. Let's see here. We talked about the Alabama Law Enforcement Memorial. We're going to build it up in the Centennial Memorial Park, and by the middle of May, we hope to unveil it. I talked to the builder yesterday. Mr. Steve Hale told me that they're going to break ground up there next week and start building. So that will, as you see this show the following week, you'll see some dirt work going on up in Centennial Memorial Park, and we'll have that law enforcement. And we thank for the tag, that law enforcement tag that Bill Partridge designed. But we've got to thank old Randy Wood. Representative Randy Wood is the one that got it through the legislation and and that funds from that tag is what is building that memorial. So thank you, Randy Wood. Thank you, Chief Bill Partridge. We're going to have the law enforcement. I got to remind you, this is the bad part about it, all the things I have to tell you, the good stuff. 22 veterans took their lives yesterday, 22. And tonight when you lay your head on the pillow, 22 more will. Every day we're losing 22 veterans. One is too many, but just think about that, 22. And if you want to know what you can do to make a difference in that, imagine a young man coming back from Afghanistan, 3 children and a wife, and no job, can't work. He's a loser in his mind. And there's a lot of things that you can do, but if you're in the church, that's a start. The Kia stores, we brought to you every week by the Kia stores in Anniston and Gadsden, and they were doing the 20% off, but they've stopped that, but they're still giving the best bargain. I'm looking at that new van they got, and I'm telling you, I wish I hadn't already bought mine. I'm not going to tell you what kind I got, but it's a biggie. But anyhow, I want to tell you about something here that's very, very important. I got a minute 30, but you write this phone number down, 334-242-7717. That's Representative Clowes. You want him to stop House Bill 313. And you want to call Senator Tripp Pittman at 334-242-7897 and tell him to stop his 287, because that is taking all the money away from the Alabama veterans. That is putting a lien against our funds. And I'm going to do a show here next week just about that legislation. It's the worst time in the history of the veterans we're being attacked by our legislature. And Senator Marsh, I need your help on that, if you will, please. If Senator Marsh and his people are listening, I need to know that you're going to help us stop that legislation. It's going to take away the veterans. We have no funds to take care of our veterans in the veterans' homes, the cemeteries, none of that. So this week, I want the salute to go to a person that we just talked about on the show today. She's a blessing to so many veterans, and we appreciate her so much, and her daughter Rachel. With this salute this week is for, and Rick is still here, and he's going to give one too. This salute is for you, Sharon Rivers, with SOS. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Veterans Issues. Salute.